What's going on? It's your boy Buddha back in the building for another Last Cloudia video. Getting started on a Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. You guys can't see, but on my end, I've got a completely new setup. You can see we brought back the professional microphone because I now can utilize it properly. So hopefully that will stay a thing. And we can keep bringing that quality upgrade to the Buddha videos every time for you. But today we have an exciting and video I'm looking forward to very much so. We can see the man, the myth, the legend, the badass from Attack on Titan, Captain Levi Ackerman, on the screen. Looking all devilish the way that he does. Very well personified in the artwork that Last Cloudia has brought us. And a character that is not only hyped up in name, but also in his performance. As we're going to see in this video, I'm very excited to take a look at him. So this is going to be the official 5-star showcase / how to build Levi video for any players new, mid-game, end-game, that maybe just need some refresher tips coming from your boy Buddha. But to start it off, we always finalize the 5-star enhancement by giving the unit its respect with the ward unlocked, and Levi now gives the entire account earth damage plus 1%. Niche to himself and other earth attackers, but we will definitely take it nonetheless. And it's time to get into the man's summary. You can see we've got him 110 out of 110, 120 out of 120 ability board. I went ahead and gave him the 6 awakening because he definitely deserves it in my opinion in terms of badassery and performance as well. He is a soldier typing, so very, very susceptible to your human slayers, right? Checking out the stats, what stands out to me, I like the STR close to 2,000, MND over 1,000 for any Proud Force sustains we would like to take advantage of. Will definitely come in handy. Attribute resistance is very weak to fire, got some resistance to earth, 25 to lightning or thunder, and neutral everywhere else. Ailment resistances, he is resistant to blind, curse, stun, and then weak to illness. So you got to be wary of that in case you are like, bro, why isn't my Levi healing at all? It's probably got some illness on him. However, stun, curse, and blind resistances are extremely good and effective for our physical type DPS in particular. We do have him 98 SC pooled because we were able to get a bunch of prisms from the event. And obviously your boy is now Buddha Whale when it comes to collabs. So we got a couple prisms from the gacha and credential exchange shops, etc. Moving on to the abilities. These are some nice things. Keep quiet, his S1. Shoot a wire that pulls the unit to enemy for a medium area earth combo attack. I believe that is 6 or 7 hits. Single wield, so dual wield, we're looking at 14 hits. Tisk Filthy, basically the same thing. We're looking at a 12. I forgot. I keep forgetting. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't actually know the hit counts on his S1 and S2 because all I really care about is that S3. I'll kill all the Titans. This is Levi's big hitter. His 18 single wield, 36 dual wield hitter attack with his nasty damage cap and how fast he gets this skill off. Very spammable. So if you're able to get multiple stocks of it built up, it looks very, very good when you're doing a single target DPS. And it's got an okay AoE, nothing too special, right? We're not dealing with a Roy S3 in terms of utility, versatility, range of attack here. But still very potent and powerful nonetheless, especially when we get into more of his kit. And then his special is the best discipline is pain, powerful earth combo attack to all enemies. This is 34 hits single wield, but because Levi is our second true dual wield unit, he gets double the attacks on his special attack as well, making it a 68 hit combo, which can be pretty filthy. Very clean man. but very, very filthy at the same time. Looking at the traits, we got Ultimate Warrior of Mankind. Physical damage plus 30%, damage cap plus 5,000. When physically attack and cut enemy defense minus 20%, and then deal damage. Pay attention to this defense cutting that Levi has. He has multiple layers of this, which you can make use of, and we will towards the end of this showcase, but I'm not going to get into it much here. Have the chance of losing the effect of the skill Snap Blade. Of course, we've talked about how incredible this is. Just makes him a literal better version of all the Attack on Titan characters immediately. Then we've got a rare ability. That'll start plus 3 more gas buffs from the skill ODM gear. Another reason why he is just a literal better unit as a core Attack on Titan unique unit. When physically rear attacking, damage plus 40% and damage cap plus 5,000. Now, a lot of talk about his S3 and his other attacks. Really the Attack on Titan units in general, because they all seem to thematically just kind of go back and forth behind and in front of the enemy as if they are, catching onto them with their ODM gear, spinning around them, attacking them from all angles. Very, very true to the theme of what these characters are. However, it does make strategies. Tweacz has talked about it many times before. Backstab and surprise attack damage strategies. These guys don't really do it so well because their attacks put them all over the place. Whereas your other standard DPS that we've had in the past can reposition themselves and then just kind of stand there, not have to worry about jumping back and forth between being in front and behind the enemy without you manually controlling them in that way. So these units are a bit unique in their combat movement. So this is not something you can guarantee yourself 100% of the time, but it's going to just add extra layers of damage more so on top of your baseline is how I look at it. Now let's get into the base skills that he comes with. And of course, we're going to take a look at what he's bringing. Following this, we'll be talking about what we need to fill out, what we need to round Levi out in terms of skills to give him add so that he can perform to that top level of your physical DPS units. We've got Attack Up Max and Fighting Spirit 5, so very standard, very nice stat ups relevant to his role. Illusion, chance of evading physical attacks. This sadly just isn't super duper effective because it's not like you're dodging attacks left and right. It's a pretty low chance. However, when it does come into use, it will be handy. Human Slayer and Special Boost. I talk about them both because they are coupled together. Levi is getting 100% damage increased to physical damage increased to soldiers, knights, snipers, and sorcerers. Those are the 4 typings within the human classification. And as we all know, works very, very well in arena and will work well in a lot of story stages when you're taking on different soldiers or any army style enemies. Auto Brave, very nice to come with. Just constant plus 20% strength buff. Auto Protection, minus 20% physical damage taken buff, which is great. Awaken, I like that. There's some sustain that we're seeing first. So we've got some nice stat ups. We have some damage mods, and this is our first sustain skill that we're seeing on Levi. So he definitely comes with something. Earth High Drive, Earth Mega Drive, more damage mods plus cap. Ale of Glory, here's a little bit of SCT sustain for you. Gonna help very, very, very much in his wave by wave content. So early story clearing, he's gonna work very well for new players because once you get this unlocked on his ability board, every second wave and further, he's gonna start with probably a couple skill stocks for you to just start battling right away, which is always great. Surprise Attack synchronizes with that ability in his trait too. Damage when attacking enemies from behind plus 50%. But as I described, you're not going to be able to place Levi 100% of the time behind an enemy and get off of his skills because they're going to be repositioning him all over the place. However, for your early game, before you're even worried about hitting max damage caps, you're going to see him hit a lot of great damage. You're going to see half of his damage maybe look a lot lower than the second half of his damage because of this mechanic that he has, right? Some of his attacks are going to be in front of the enemy. The other attacks behind the enemy are going to have all these crazy damage boosts to them. Blessed speed, right? We love movement speed on our PDPS, so +2 speed right there. And as I've talked about before, this is 8 SC if it's not innate, so definitely a good snag. Armor Piercer. Here we go. When physically attacking, chance for enemy defense -30% and deal damage. So now he's got a second layer of this defense piercing effect. These do not stack on top of each other, right? But they are independent chances, which technically just gives you a higher likelihood of seeing these effects work. However, sometimes this will activate and you'll get a -30% defense reduction. And then other times his trait will activate and you'll get that -20% reduction. Now, if they both activate, I don't know how that works. Does then it become a -55% effective deduction? Maybe one of you guys can answer that. However, you will see him deal more damage to some enemies because of his piercing effects proccing. Shockwave 2, another great arena skill mainly. Physical attacks have a chance to nullify enemy guards. So then if you want to go ahead and put Shockwave 1 on him, which I think we'll be doing at the end in the arena showcase, this will synchronize very well. True dual wield. This is the skill that not only allows him to have dual wield, right, 2 weapons, but it also allows his specials to deal double the amount of hits. Sword Mega Boost. Okay, this is the only weapon type boost that he has innate in his kit. So we're definitely going to want to look for the other Sword Boost and Sword High Boost to stack on top for that extra 40% damage mod on top of this skill that he gets innately, which I'm totally fine with, right? Because Sword Boost and Sword High Boost, those are teachable skills from SSR arcs. We don't have Sword Mega Boost on an arc yet. Maybe we'll see it on a UR arc eventually, but we don't have it in the meantime. So nice that he comes with this one innate. Quick Trigger is incredible. Some more SCT sustain so that you can start each wave with at least 1 stock of whatever random skill you're going to get. Either way, it's going to work very well, right? Quick Trigger plus Ale of Glory. Perfect for new players that don't have many means for SCT sustain, because he's going to start the battle with something Quick Trigger, and then every wave thereafter, he's going to have some more skill stock regenerating. Sharp Eyes, very, very nice that he comes with innately. Big SC saves. When using an attack skill, use 3% of max MP for the damage plus 50%. Staple of a damage mod for all of our physical DPS. You can see that he's got a ridiculous amount of big damage mods already built into his kit. Combo Master 2, another damage mod, but conditional to the amount of combo hits that is that your team is performing. If it's above 50, you get that 30% extra damage. Levi works so well with this because his S3, once you get to that point where you can reliably spam a couple skill stocks of it, that being 36 hits each one, by the second S3, you're going to be above that 50 hit mark. So if you're struggling to hit damage cap, you'll see that significant jump in damage. Just an incredible skill that synchronizes with him. Combo Master 1, I think you get off of the UR Ark Great War of Ruin, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. Yes, so sadly your boy Buddha doesn't have it, but for anyone who does, you can just stack that easily as well for 50% damage when you get above 50 hit combos. Giant Killing 2 is that special skill and special damage 20% extra to bosses. And you get an extra plus 2,000 damage cap. Death God also going to be very helpful, I think, for newbies because physical attacks have a chance to deal the instant death, right? This doesn't work against bosses. It doesn't work against arena teams. However, when you're taking on certain mobs, Levi can help bypass any physical damage resisted enemies, right? Those are going to be enemies that all of a sudden you're only dealing 1 damage per hit, and it doesn't make any sense because you were just massacring the other enemies you were fighting. Death God's going to give Levi that chance to just instantly wipe those mobs from the board so you can keep progressing. And it's probably going to proc more often than not because of Levi's high hit counts. You just have a higher chance of seeing this happen. So dude is really a universal character, especially for your DPS early game players. Snapblade is his unique Attack on Titan buff that all of the AOT units come with. This is going to give him just massive damage boosts when it's active. You can lose it, but remember, Levi has half the chance to lose it as much as Mikasa and Eren, so just great there. Change blades, this will recharge your snap blades 4 times per wave after 10 seconds of losing it. So good that we at least have a way to regenerate this busted little ability here. Scout Regiment, right? Boost physical damage to bosses based on number of allies and skill. With the skill Scout Regiment, so this is going to stack. The more units have these, the Attack on Titans units work great together because they all have this innately, so that they get that extra damage to boss monsters. We love that. But the only way you can teach this to your other units is if you pulled the LR Ark from part 1 of this collab. And ODM gear, just gas, gets 3 plus 5 from this skill, so 8 gas buffs Levi has, and makes him super speedy, closes the gaps, and allows him to attack every enemy very, very quickly. Levi is so good in terms of just movement, speed, damage, mods, even SCT sustain within his kit. He just needs a little bit of help to make him even better. I forgot he has 2 other unique skills. Neatnik, when not at max HP, strength, and defense plus 20%. Going to work extremely well. You can essentially get that STR plus 20% unique stack 100% of the time if you teach him the skill Pride, as we're going to see. But then when he does drop below that max HP, if he gets hit, he then just boosts his defense by another 20% to help mitigate some more damage. So really, really, really nice ability right here. And Erwin's plan, battle start, apply a physical attack damage plus 25% buff and inflict a physical attack damage taken plus 10% buff on all allies. So all your team is going to be dealing 25% more damage and taking 10% more damage. However, because this unfortunately isn't a unique skill, for my new players out there, I want to explain this to you. Last Cloudia does kind of a poor job at explaining to you that certain buffs do not stack with one another, right? So it boils down to when you're in battle, you can look at the different buffs that are on whichever unit you're looking at, and you can see unique individual buff icons. If these skills, for some reason, are providing the same buff icon, they will not stack with each other, okay? So a good example of that, Auto Brave, if you are kind of paying attention, you're just getting into the game, you'll notice there's also a skill called Fast Brave. A lot of players will stack these on top of each other because the effect reads attack increases, right? So why not use Auto Brave, attack increases, and then also use Fast Brave, which also says attack increases? Well, that's because they do not stack. Because if you notice, the icon is the same here because they both have this red man bending down the way that he is. That is the icon that's the same. That will not stack on top of each other. The only differences between your auto buffs and your fast buffs is the time in which they're active. Auto effects are permanent. They're active 100% of the time in battle. Fast buffs, they're only active for 40 seconds and then they disappear. You'll have to use your support to cast the buff again if you need to sustain more than that. The trade-off is the amount of SC it costs to equip the skill to the unit, depending on what you have available and what your strategies are in your build. So, Erwin's plan, a lot of us were hoping and hopeful that this would be a unique buff icon. However, it's not in terms of the physical attack damage plus 25% buff and the inflicted damage plus 10% debuff. Those are going to be your standard buff icons, which don't stack with, let's say you're running a support character like Tinkili, who gives a plus 20 or 25% physical damage buff to all allies, right? There's no point to have Erwin's plan, like if you're running also Tinkili, since you're then not getting this extra damage buff and making your team take more damage. Hope that makes sense for anyone who's kind of new to the game, but it's probably going to be in your best interest to turn this off. However, since I'm not too worried about it, I won't be stressing it. We're going to just keep it on. Also because we're going to be running Levi solo in this first fight. So it's going to take a little more damage, but he's going to be dishing out 25% extra damage as well. So before we get into creating a general DPS build for Levi, I want to give a huge quick shout out to Tweacz. I'm going to link his video up there. He did and is hopefully going to start doing pre-build showcases or guides to units probably a day or two before they come out. Whenever we get the information on them, I think we always get the info a day before the character drops. So he was going to make an effort to start doing these pre-build showcases, which are going to be, I think, so helpful for players. And I kind of want him to take care of that just because he's got the mind. He plays the game so much. He has so many resources. He's truly equipped to give that advice before the character's even in game. And it's just going to help kind of steer a lot of players looking for guidance. It's going to steer their head in the right direction if they're able to pull the new characters for which skills they should be on the lookout for. Going to kind of pre-program certain arcs that they want to keep in mind to have at the ready or to be on the lookout for in order to teach that unit some pretty core and essential skills. So he did that for Levi. The video's doing very well. And it's pretty damn accurate even after a week, almost a week that we've had Levi in the game. Pretty much is going to mimic a lot of what you're going to see me doing with my thought process in this build. So be sure to check that video out and any of those future videos to come. If you are getting into the game, just starting out, you watch that video, then you come and watch my showcases. It's just going to be a perfect marriage. It's going to be able to reinforce a lot of thought processes. He's probably going to talk about some things I forget about. I might talk about some things that he couldn't have known before the character was in. So I just think it's going to be a really, really good coupled video series that I wanted to point out specifically because Levi's the first character that Tweacz did introduce that concept to. So be sure to check that out. Of course, subscribe to the man Tweacz. He is giving you true end game perspective while also just giving you the ideologies of what you want to think about when you're building these units, similar to how I do in my builds as well. With that shout out of the way, let's go ahead, resort the skills and talk about what Levi is needing, right? We saw, well, actually I shouldn't have resorted the skills because I want to show you. We have some nice stat ups, right? This is kind of more to my point of these units come with a bunch of stat ups that they don't need anymore, right? So if we sort to default all of the attack ups, HP ups, MP ups, defense ups, we want to come back to that after we fleshed out the core stuff that you're going to see right above my head. That's kind of like my little mini streamlined PDPS format and categories that I'm thinking of when I'm creating a build for a unit. So what's awesome about Levi is even for a new player, if you don't have arks, you don't have him leveled up, you can't teach him skills that quickly, a lot of what's already in his kit serves him very well to accomplish the categories you see above, right? He's got blessed speed for that speed that we can see. Is tons of damage mods and even a little bit of sustain in terms of awaken, right? Gives him some HP recovery. He's also got the Ale of Glory plus the quick trigger combo that I was talking about earlier for some SCT sustain. What we don't see at all is any MP sustain, right? If you need to regenerate his MP so you can keep the Sharp Eyes buff active, he's not going to be able to do that in just his base kit. However, if you're just able to unlock his board, right, with very limited skills available to you, you're going to be doing very, very well with Levi, I can guarantee you. Of course, like I said, I see that there's some more self-sustain that Levi's going to need help with. Awaken is not enough, right? We need that Proud Force sustain, which Levi just doesn't come with. Luckily for a lot of you guys, right? Proud Force is available very early game, very new player friendly. It's on the Ark Coastline Sword. So make sure to unlock that immediately to have it at the ready for units like Levi, who exceptional DPS, however, doesn't come with one of the core sustain health regen abilities. So we're going to skip down a little bit in the skill book and just equip Proud Force to this man. Boom. And since we need criticals in order to give Levi Proud Force heals. If you notice, there's like no critical in his kit at all. No auto crit, no fast crit, no critical ups. So if you're going to go with the Proud Force sustain, you're gonna need some critical ups. I'm gonna go ahead and just use these two, critical up 3 and critical up 2 for 8%, 5%, 13% to start off. And then keep in mind, when you're building crit, you want to start at about 3% per unit. That's what their base kit usually gives. So we've got 3 plus 5, 8, 16% critical we're at right now. That should be a pretty good baseline just to start off some good Proud Force heals for our man Levi. Like I said, we're skipping all the stat ups because we're not interested. Now, here's the thing. Aim Vitals, Advanced Aim Vitals, he doesn't come with innately. These will help new players greatly if you have skills that also build his critical, because as you saw, dude doesn't come with any crit ups innate in his kit. So if you don't have your critical ups taught, you don't have fast crit, auto crit, as we're going to see later, Aim Vitals, Advanced Aim Vitals ain't going to help you at all with our man Levi, because his critical percentage rate is going to be just astronomically lower than our typical PDPS that we see nowadays. So make sure to keep that in mind. Don't just slap on Advanced Aim Vitals if like you have no critical ups on the man, because it's not going to help you. However, if you can start building up his crit, these can help to reach higher damage numbers before you can do end game builds and truly hit that white damage cap. We're definitely aiming for that. So we're not interested in the Advanced Aim or Aim Vital skills at all. Guard package, you can see I don't even have him talk to him, so not interested in that at all. Killers, Slayers, the dude comes with Human Slayer, which is huge, gonna help very, very well in many situations. However, because we know what stage we're bringing Levi in initially, right? Chapter 6-9, Encroaching Dead, we know that the last stage is a very annoying god enemy stage. We're gonna equip God Slayer. Nice that he comes with special boost, so we only have to worry about equipping the appropriate Slayer. And that should help us clear that final wave very easily. The weapon equips are going to be relevant to Levi. There are some really good options in different equips that he can't innately wield, right? I think he can only equip swords and machines initially. So to take advantage of some really nice earth bows, you'd have to use bow equip. There's a really good earth spear that Levi's gonna love. So having your weapon equips will be relevant. Thinking about that 2SC, if you're going to be using something other than a sword, is going to be important for Levi. However, in this build, we're going to be using Trishula, right, since we're doing General DPS. So luckily he is able to equip a sword and machine innately. We don't have to worry about in this particular build. The different resistances, of course, right, to something to consider depending on your viable support. However, I'm not too worried about it. Faint Resist might actually be useful because of how we've seen certain units perform in that final wave of this first stage we're gonna take on. But we're not gonna worry about that. I think Levi's gonna do just fine. Hopefully I don't, stick my foot in my mouth here. Here is some great advice for new players. Once you're taking advantage of a Proud Force build in order to heal on your physical type DPS units, something to consider, not only critical, you don't only need critical rate, but the actual heal amount is determined by your MND, in which case Fast Matisse, or the Matisse buff in general, which gives you plus 20% to your base mind, is actually in effect going to double your Proud Force heals, going to push Levi up from about 100 and 170 range heals per critical hit to like over 300. So very, very worth for a lot of your physical DPS, especially if you have support that can cast Matisse Phaser. To have this fast buff immediately for 2SC just to get the ball rolling is very, very beneficial. At the cost of 2SC, something to consider. And remember, again, for your newbies, like I was talking about, you have your fast brave right here, and you have your auto buffs as well. So they are different. The fast buffs are 2SC each, and the auto buffs, they do change. They scale, I think, Auto Brave 7 SC, Auto Criticals 9 SC. Speaking of critical, we are going to equip fast critical as well. Right, your fast skills, if you're going to be real bursty, taking on your wave by wave content that's typically not going to take you 40 seconds per fight, your fast buffs are very, very much the better skill to use since they are so cheap to equip, right? We have both fast, we now have 2 buffs on Levi, Matisse, and critical, 15% crit, 20% M&D for the cost of 4 SC, which is a very, very good return. Fast speed, give it to the man Levi. I don't think, I'm trying to remember, I don't think there's anything about speed, the speed buff in his kit, so we want that initial 40 seconds of speed for that 1 SC, of course. Oh, the haste abilities. Goodness gracious, what a controversy these ended up being. However, we have Levi's paid, so we don't have to worry about this. Because of the little sustain, SCT sustain that I mentioned with Quick Trigger and Ale of Glory, the haste, yes, the haste skills are not going to be essential, especially when you're looking at that massive 14 SC cost. The return is definitely not there when a unit doesn't come with haste innate in his kit. However, I think new players will notice when their skills do not have haste versus when they do. But of course, as Zero mentions, you can always cast haste with a support type unit if you have a support type unit. Just for me, I like it when I don't have to do anything, right? I can just load into battle and I have the majority of effects that I want just occurring rather than needing a unit to then cast something and then take time to cast it, make sure they don't get interrupted. I'm making it sound a little more complicated than it is, but regardless, it's still a when more strategy, which I just personally am not a fan of. However, I'm not recommending that you equip auto haste or fast haste to this guy. Plenty of better ways for SCT sustain in general. So just going to go ahead and skip past those things and we get into some more stat buffs at max HP, when at low HP, etc. Here is where we can equip Pride, which also is a skill a lot of players can get early game. I think it's on an R or SR Ark. I can't remember specifically. If you ever want to figure out where skills come from, check my pinned comment below. There's a link to Lake's Gold Mine site, right? The best resource in the entire Last Cloudia community. Gives you an entire library to search through, search bars. You just type in Pride and you can find what characters have it innate. You can find what arcs teach the skill Pride. It's really the best resource. If you're a new player, please do yourself a favor, go check that out and bookmark it. We are going to equip it because I like this. So I was talking about buffs that don't stack with each other. These different, like at max HP, when not at max HP, when at low HP, those different stat buffs, those aren't actual icons. Those are like innate passives you can't see. They're behind the scenes in the coding. So this definitely does stack with your Brave buffs. And because we have his Neatnik unique skill, which gives that STR at when he's not at max HP, you can have that innate behind the scenes 20% STR by equipping Pride, because now at max HP he gets that STR buff, and as soon as he's not at max HP he gets the buff at the same time. So it actually works very, very, very well. And for the cost of 4 SC, right, it's a good and significant amount of STR boost that I think it definitely warrants using Pride for. Ardor is another great skill to use at max HP, critical rate plus 10%, but for the sake of this exact build, because I'm not too worried about Levi doing criticals in general, I'm gonna save the 4 SC for now. If I was doing a crit extra damage focused build, which we will be doing after this initial one, that's when I would use a skill like Ardor. However, since we're not, I'm not too worried about it, right? Or if you needed, like for new players, this is gonna be very good because the more crits you can do usually results in more damage, since you're not hitting damage caps with your white numbers. So more crits equals more damage for you in that classification. Ardor is just a great skill in general, synchronizes well with obviously critical HP sustain with Proud Force, always recommended. Flying Shadow, right? Increased movement speed at max HP. If you got nothing else, give the man more speed. I wouldn't be mad at you. Dusk, here's the thing. For me, if I'm going to equip this, I need to unequip Sharp Eyes, which I think is something you can absolutely do and something that I'm going to do, right? I'm going to showcase that you can do it. For this build, I'm not, but when that's the case, that's when I would personally equip Dusk because I want this active more times, 90% of the time. With Sharp Eyes active, it's just damn near impossible to have max HP when you need it, right? When you need to tank a boss ultimate, when you need to fight a certain, when you need to tank any kind of specific attack where Dusk is really going to be effective, it's really hard to time that with the kind of MP regeneration that our typical PDPS has with their normal attacks, right? Earth attack raise you do get off of Sandworm, so kind of a nice damage mod to slap on him if you got nothing else. But of course the attack raises being at 11 SC, right, above 10 SC for only 20% return, we're definitely going to skip over it just because it's also not needed. The man comes with so many damage mods. Our SC can be better spent in other places. Weak point boost, very, very important skill, very effective damage modifier if you're going to take on enemies that are weak to the specific element. In Levi's case would be Earth. Now, if you're lacking a lot of damage mods, right, I don't think it's a bad idea to slap this on Levi, so then he's just a monster against your general content enemies that are weak to Earth. He's going to clear them out very easily, one tap them very easily. So I don't think weak point boost is a bad skill to put on in a general use if you're lacking other things. But since I do want to reserve the SC, we're going to skip over it, come back to it if we have the extra SC. Pose of Glory, right? The different poses going to work very, very well with our man Levi. We're going to do Pose of Glory and Pose of Honor because on kill, we're going to get that regeneration for SCT. We're going to get that regeneration of MP. Pose of Victory, I'm not too concerned with just because we have Proud Force, right? Proud Force plus a critical package is typically the most HP sustain that your PDPS needs independently. Once you get that plus your support healer, whoever that's going to be, you're looking at enough HP sustain generally to where Pose of Victory, in my opinion, is just not needed at that point. However, if you are struggling, you don't have Proud Force, you don't have a good crit package to give to Levi, Pose of Victory is definitely going to help you early game. Ale of Glory, right? Going to be nice for wave by wave content. Ale of Honor, right? Don't think that because I'm using Pose of Honor and not using Ale of Honor that this isn't a skill that you can take advantage of. You unlock Sharp Eyes on this man, the dude's draining MP. Let's say you don't have Pose of Honor to teach him, you have Ale of Honor, and you're fighting your wave by wave story content, use it, right? It's still very, very viable, right? Use what you have in order to overcome things that I'm using. But there are other skills that can achieve a similar or just as effective result. Pirate's Feast, of course, the ultimate wave by wave SCT sustain. This coupled with like your quick trigger, it basically makes like equipping this nullifies Ale of Glory, right? We're not getting any benefits of Ale of Glory, but since it's a 0 SC cost, it's a wash, which I'm fine with. Right, Ale of Glory is there to help when you don't have Pirate's Feast. This is something that, like, if Levi didn't have innately, and I didn't have Pirate's Feast as a new player, but maybe I have Ale of Glory to teach, I would use this in the stead of Pirate's Feast as my substitute. But remember, I make these builds so you can see, you can look to see what skills I'm using which provide that super efficient end game strategy. But there are sub-in skills as well that you want to take advantage of on your climb. Pirate's Feast, I'm definitely going to equip so that we can start every wave after the first one fully stocked up. It's a good time. Levi does a lot of damage immediately. Bursty, bursty, bursty. Goddess Kiss, we do want this if we want to regenerate with Levi in terms of MP. However, I don't know or think we're going to need the MP regen. I think he's going to sweep up everything, but just know, like, usually when you equip Sharp Eyes, generally you'll want to equip Goddess Kiss, because this is going to be your best source of MP regeneration, encompassing all types of battles, whether it be wave by wave, whether it be long-term fights. It's mainly for long-term fights. With Sharp Eyes, you're going to be draining all of that MP with your skills used. If you're taking on a fight that then needs a lot of damage output, you're going to need a way to regenerate that MP consistently. Pose of Honor is not going to help you much once all of the extra little mobs are gone. So Goddess Kiss is really the best skill for physical DPS MP regeneration. But I'm not going to equip it. I would if I was a lot earlier game and I couldn't quite deal the damage that I think we're going to achieve here. So just keep that in mind. Usually Goddess Kiss and Sharp Eyes, that was like a staple combo that I always threw on my PDPS when I was starting out. And if the unit doesn't have one or both of those skills innately, it's 20 SC, right? Goddess Kiss is 11, Sharp Eyes is 9. So it's nice that Levi comes with Sharp Eyes. So with that SC save, you only have to worry about giving him Goddess Kiss for that little duo. So definitely recommend that. Sky High, Sky Lord, I don't think are bad damage mods if you don't have a lot. Sky High is very easily accessible. It's on, I think, the Ark Dimensional Rift. So easy damage mod to give to him. And I do believe his attacks lift the enemy up into the air a little bit, but I guess we'll confirm that. I'm not going to equip it just because I don't think Levi's going to need it, but of course, right, little damage mods for low SC cost that I always recommend. Backstab, we'll go ahead and give him just a couple with Surprise Attack. Surprise Attack's nice because it's damage when attacking enemies from behind, right? That's all encompassing damage. It's not just relevant to physical attacks. However, Backstab is only relevant to physical damage, which Levi does. So we're not going to stress it too much. We're going to just give us that 80% when Levi is positioned behind the enemy. I'm going to skip Terra Melt, of course, right? This is useful if you're taking advantage of a status ailment build and or strategy team comp. We are not taking Levi solo, so skipping over that. Maglion, all of Levi's attacks are close range, so definitely easy skip there. Not really interested here. Piercing, like if you are lacking a lot of other skills, this is not a bad skill to use. Also because Levi already comes with a lot of defense reduction capability in Armor Piercer, in his trait. So then giving him piercing, right, if you don't have certain damage mods or certain limited skills, I don't think is a bad idea at all for cutting through those really, really tanky defensive enemies at any point in the game. So definitely keep your eye out for here, but this is like a sub-in skill before you get some of the big hitters that we're going to see here soon. Impact, double impacts, I'm not going to talk about why these are just wastes of any physical DPS's SC when we're talking general builds. I've talked about it enough in my last 3-4 showcases, so go check those out, right? I have an Aaron and Mikasa build showcase which goes over why impacts are such a waste of SC and why they're misleading for new players as well based on the description there. So be on the lookout, don't get fooled, take off your impacts. Shockwave, right? This I'm not going to use for PvE content. However, we're acknowledging it that it's there and we'll come back to it later. Dual wield! Do we gotta use it? No, sir, because the man's got true dual wield, the superior. This is the Chad of the dual wield. Dual wield was already a Chad skill, and this is somehow a Chad's Chad. So very nice, it comes with that. And we get to some more weapon damage mods. Sword boost, sword high boost. Very much a staple for the sword users. And like I said, even though it would be nice if he had these innate, I can teach these to him. And he has the actual boost that I cannot teach to him, which is the sword mega boost. So very nice, gets all the sword boost combos there. And we're going to be just blowing up that damage modification. Moving past the boosts, we get to some more skill stock relevant sustain. I'm going to skip over ultimate boost just because I'm not worried about doing Levi's ultimate here. And now it's time to trigger some free-to-play players by equipping Purple Orb. Of course, this is going to give us max skill stock +1. One of the best strategies, Purple Orb plus Pirate's Feast, because at wave 2 and onward, we're going to start with max skill stocks of everything +1 of his potential. So very nice. The only way currently to get skill stock 3 or stock skill 3, right? We have teachable stock skill 1 and stock skill 2, which if you're going to be taking advantage of a Pirate's Feast SCT combo, I would totally recommend doing these in the absence of Purple Orb, just to get some extra burst skill damage at the ready, so Levi can be a true monster. Skill charges, right? These are going to be important because we have quick trigger at our disposal, right? It's innate in Levi's kit. It takes away the necessity for these. However, I still think I'm going to equip skill charge 1 just so that I can start off with whichever quick trigger procs plus 1 to 2 stocks of skill charge 1, just in case we aren't able to finish off enemies quickly with 1 skill in that first wave. Skill charge 1 is going to allow for that skill stock at the ready to just get to the action straight away. Then plus Pose of Glory, you should be able to regen enough skill charge to then wipe out wave 1, get to wave 2 where all of the magic happens. So gonna keep that on. Decoy, right? Very necessary if you are at risk or know that your units just can't tank certain attacks or they're at risk of dying. Decoy can help you just bounce back and get the killing blows of certain stages, but we won't need that. Determination, real poopy skill. I have been able to make use of it recently, like with Mikasa and even Levi in the Colossal Titan fight, but now I have a strategy where I don't need to use this, and in general, it's just not a great ability. It only heals about 10% when you take a lethal hit, but there are other reasons why this is just not a great skill. Indomitable Spirit is its superior counterpart. It's like what Ardeen comes with innate in his kit. That's a 50% heal when you take that lethal damage, but Determination just does not meet the mark. Sharp Eyes we will be using for this build particularly because it's just the best skill damage. It boosted in the game just about plus 50% damage for some use of your MP pool. And of course, we've talked about the other ways of regenerating MP to keep this buff alive. Goddess Kiss, very important, but I think we're going to be taking out these enemies well before our MP pool is drained, and we're not using MP on anything else, so we don't have to worry about that. Combo Master 2, right? I probably would use Combo Master 1 if I had it, but I don't. So boo-hoo. I'm going to go ahead and use that SC other places, right? We can't just worry about what we don't have. Oh boy. Can't wait to read the comments later. Berserker, right? I'm going to skip over Break, Boost, Break, and Breaker. Right, I don't think Levi's breaking anything like crazy. It's not his strong point. He doesn't have any breaking capability specified in his kit like in his traits. So I don't think the break skills are too important. But of course, if you are super early game and you just want to throw on Breaker to your physical DPS to help bring that boss's break bar down for specific story stages, I wouldn't be mad at you if you're lacking other skills, of course. Berserker, right? This is a great damage mod. Physical attack damage plus 30%, but it causes continual HP decrease. Now, with a Proud Force sustain build, this buff can be very well managed. However, because of the specific stage we're going to be taking on and the risk of us getting fainted, which means we just literally sit there and we can't do anything, Berserker can kill you, right? It's about, I think, a 18 to 20% HP decrease every 6 seconds. So if you're constantly attacking, it works great because then you can just heal up your health with Proud Force heals. However, once you get into a state where you can't get any attacks off, or you're getting flinched out of attacks constantly, and this HP decrease is occurring, you are at risk and it can put you in some really poopy situations. So we're not going to use this in this particular build, especially since right? We're using Sharp Eyes. You're going to see I'm going to pretty much supplement one of these for the other depending on the build I'm going for. So because we're using Sharp Eyes here, I'm skipping over Berserker. However, they do stack, right? You could use them both at the same time. However, I'm just not going to because of everything else I'm considering with this build. Getting into all of the UR or collab limited skills. Phone Booth, very, very strong, potent skill, but because we're using that Pirate's Feast strategy, we don't really need this at all. Automail Equip, not interested. It would work, right? Add machine type to unit, physical attack damage plus 10%, and physical damage taken minus 10%, right? This would work, but I'm not going to use it. High speed shopkeep, I would like that, please. I'd love me some more speed and just speed on top of stacked on speed and speed stacked and on top of stacked speed. That sounds real good to me. Moving further down, right? Last thing we're looking at, equipable, beautiful, cruel world. When allies incapacitated, apply strength plus 30% buff to unit. Because we're running Levi solo here, this isn't going to be useful at all. If I'm not mistaken, this is one of those weird skills to be on the lookout for because this is not like Pride. It's not like Neat Nick. This is a brave buff applied to the unit when someone is incapacitated, right? When an ally is incapacitated. So this will essentially replace the Brave buff. Since Brave is plus 20% STR, this would then be a plus 30% Brave buff to replace. Doesn't stack, it replaces. So for that reason, I don't really like these on death skills like this. Also, we're running Levi solo in this first mission, so this is not going to be useful at all. However, if you wanted to use this because you're a new player, you got one of the LR arcs and you have it available to you, you got his SC pool up and you're missing a lot of other skills we've talked about, sure, why not? Your other teammates are probably going to be dying, especially early game at certain points, so getting that extra STR on Levi I don't think is a bad move, but that's like a super, super sub skill if you don't have a lot of things. So now we are done going through the list of skills that I have taught to Levi. And we've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to flesh out and meet up here. As you can see, right, we gave some more damage mods. We gave a lot more self-sustain, Proud Force. We gave him the critical ups for that. We gave him Matisse. We gave SET sustain in Skill Charge, Purple Orb, Pirate's Feast. We gave some MP regeneration in the Pose of Glory, or Pose of Honor, and SET in Pose of Glory. So he's pretty much covered on self-sustain. So now we have 75 out of 98 SC. We've got 23 SC to play with. This is when I myself go back into the build and say, you know, what do I want to do? What do I want to add? Right? This is where we have plenty of space. If I just wanted to throw weak point boost on him, if we happen to encounter enemies that are weak to earth, why not? I'm going to be for sure hitting damage cap against them. Flying Shadow, right? Increased movement speed at max. HP sounds like a pretty cool extra skill to throw on. Ardor, why not? Since we have the extra SC and we still have 8 SC to go. I'm looking through here thinking about anything like that I'm just going to smack myself on the forehead forgetting about. But I don't see anything. We'll go ahead and give him the extra 2 crit up so he's got all the crit package I can give him in his skills innately. And I'm looking at these here. We've got 6 SC to spare. Fighting Spirit's going to give some more STR and HP percent, which sounds cool to me. And with 2 SC, why not just throw on the STR plus 5% so that the man's got some stacked stats. And there we go, guys. That's going to be this first General DPS build for our boy Levi in terms of skills. I'm not worried about any magic skills here. WAP, right? He would be a good WAP spammer, but for what we're taking on here, since it's wave by wave, we got Pirate's Feast, Purple Orb, we've got Pose of Glory. I'm not too concerned about using a WAP strategy. So beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let us move on to equips, shall we? Pretty much any of the standard swords that I recommend for your end game, right? Scarlet Blade, Sword of Lost Souls, Pure Blade, Muramasa, all gonna work very well with Levi, just because these are some of the best, right? LC loves giving swords the best treatment. If you want to give them extra damage cap, you want to give special attack and special damage extra percentage, and if you want to give a similar effect that Trishula gives while also on your special, Sword of the Lost Souls, which I think we're going to do since we will be potentially seeing Levi's special on the final wave. I'd rather not have to worry about any resistances, any earth resistances that the enemies might have. Speaking of, let's go ahead and just slap Covert Gun Trishula. This is the ultimate combo if you want your physical attacks and special attack to not be resisted. You don't have to think about lowering enemy attribute resistances. You don't have to use spells. You don't have to use a support caster. You don't have to worry about casting it, getting flinched out of casting. You don't have to worry about none of that. Making sure the buff is up. Maybe you waited too long and the buff expired. You don't got to worry about none of that. If you got Sword of the Lost Souls, Covert Gun Trishula on an elemental attacker, you can essentially freely use skills and specials without worrying about elemental resistances at all. So this is the ultimate lazy man's weapon setup, which sounds right up my alley. However, let me give you some more recommendations. Of course, right? Levi's Blade is great. Earth attack damage plus 1500. So we're getting the Scarlet Blade effect and physical attack damage plus 10% and special damage plus 30%. So very, very nice. Very, very nice paid equip. Just standard offense burst. Here you go. And it's of the earth element, which if we go ahead and filter out earth swords, what do we got? Levi's Blade and the free sword that you get from the event. So these are the only two existing earth swords. Why is an earth sword so relevant? Well, it really doesn't matter unless you're going to be taking advantage of Goddess Kiss strategies, right? We talked about how Goddess Kiss regenerates MP when you are normal attacking, and your normal attacks look at your weapon elements to register any damage boosts or enemy attribute resistances. So because Levi's an earth type attacker, he has a ton of damage mods for earth attacks. Having a weapon type that matches this for Goddess Kiss makes your MP regen skyrocket. Okay, since we're not doing MP regen, it doesn't matter so much to us. As you can see, we've got on Sword of the Lost Souls, which is no attribute, and Covert Gun Trishula, which is light attribute, right? The normal attacks Levi will be doing won't be anything impressive, right? If I was doing Goddess Kiss, I'd be definitely using earth weapons. But even for your newer players, right, that's still something to consider because you won't have SCT regen, right? Your skill stocks, they have their element tied to them. So they're always getting earth damage boosts from Levi. But when you're early game and you can't launch off so many skill stocks right away, having your normal attack gain those damage boosts will probably help you get through waves a little bit quicker. So I think it's definitely worth noting what different earth weapons we have in the game. We can only see the ones that he's able to equip here. So in terms of swords and machines, unfortunately, you've got the sword from this event, you've got his paid equip, and Forthine Bow. That was, I think, an event exclusive equip as well when Shift Lilibet released. So not a lot of great options when you're looking at what Levi has innately. It's only when you start equipping other types of weapons or making it available to him, right? As I mentioned before, bow and spear. If we then can go back, I think we are able to now check everything that's available. Yes, so here we go. Once you have bow equip and spear equip accessible to you, you then gain access to a lot better options for earth type weapons. Hallowed Spear Rafaria, this is a Godforged Spear. Earth attack damage plus 20%. At plus 40, it becomes plus 25%. I didn't even give you the stats, right? Not anything crazy from the Levi's Duster, sadly, but 202, when you get it plus 40, it's the intelligence stat that goes up, which doesn't help Levi at all. But it's mainly the trait and the fact that it's earth element. So the spear comes from an AER. I believe it's the arc that released with OG Madine. But that also gives, I think, a plus 15 or 20% to earth damage. So that's going to work very well as a secondary weapon. Looks like we have the Maiden Leaf that just came out. I think this was SOM, Earth Physical Attack Damage. Yeah, I think that came out with the SOM collab, or the TOM collab, Trials of Mana, that we just saw with Reese. Shogatsu Pine Trident. I think this was from the Christmas event that we just saw. Looking at it, this is pretty decent. Strength plus 153, and then chance for physical attack damage plus 50%. I think that gives you extra damage, but maybe someone can confirm or deny that. Star Road, the Heavenly Bow. I really like this option for Levi. This is another AER from Heaven's Bow Starlord. Works very well because that arc gives you bow equip as well. So if you have it and you have Levi, and you're looking for a real decent secondary option early on, you can get the AER from that arc, teach Levi bow equip, and then get this on him when using earth or light skills. Critical rate plus 10%. So we give him even more critical rate. We talked about why this works so well, or not this one specifically. This bow works well on Levi, right? Because he's an earth type unit. So we are going to use this bow later in a different type of strategy that I want to test out with Levi with you guys and see how it performs on cam. Other than weapon locked options, any of your standards, right? If you see something that gives crit rate, if you see something that gives physical damage modification, Brisk Blade Zestina, even though it's an ice type weapon, this is the AER from Icy Guardian. This is a very, very nice sword for early game players, since it's basically Pose of Glory within the sword, which also stacks with Pose of Glory. So you can get a lot of SCT regen off of your enemy kills, which is going to help if you're lacking other SCT regen strats. Divine Sword Asterion, this is a reason why you kind of want to push Arena early game, because if you're able to get to Gold 1, which is, I'm sorry, not even Gold 1. If you're able to get to Gold League, which I think is like 5,000 arena trophies or something, somewhere close to there, you do get Divine Sword Asterion, which is just an incredible sword to start out with the earlier that you can get it, since it's probably, I'd say, one of the more easily acquirable swords to get that is as potent as it is, right? A nice 200 strength stat with physical attack damage plus 12% and critical rate plus 3%. So an incredible sword that if you can just muster through getting into arena, pushing to gold, you can get this accessible to you very early on. Even the weapons that came with the event, right? Snap Blade, physical attack damage plus 5%. It's a neutral weapon. So here's the thing. I know I talked about how, right, your earth weapons are going to work well with Levi's normal attacks. But what is also nice about not using element attacks is that if you don't have access to Trishula, you have to worry about enemies who heavily resist earth, right? Levi's skills are barely doing any damage, but if you normal attack with, let's say, a neutral weapon, or if the enemy's weak to ice and you attack with an ice normal attack, you can then actually get through those enemies because your normal attacks look at the weapon elements, which can help you overcome other elemental blocks that like Levi would have against earth resisted enemies. So keep that in mind. Like, it's not end all be all if you're not using earth weapons with Levi. Snap Blade being neutral, it doesn't have to worry about any elemental resistances, so you can just normal attack your way through highly earth resisted attackers or enemies. So keep that in mind, something to keep note of. There's not really any other machines that I want to give a shout out other than Trishula. So I think that's going to do it in terms of what I recommend for equips. Of course, like I said, you got to use what you got. Be on the lookout for certain effects that I mentioned: critical rate, physical attack damage, any kind of utility that you think would synchronize well, like Brisk Blade, given that Pose of Glory effect. But a lot of options that are going to work super well with Levi. We're going to confirm. And that's going to do it for our first. No, it's not, because we have to do accessories, you foolish boots. What are we going to recommend? Same stuff as Mikasa, with one AER that I'm going to give a shout out to. So, right, we have speed shoes, an easy one to give to your PDPS. +2 speed, always going to work well. Stone of Statue of Bird, yes. Mithril Relief, yes, right? Any damage cap, Phantom Tower Key, Hail or Sovereign's Ring, yes. Early game, right? Deadly Choker, giving you some more crit rate. Driftstone, damage dealt to airborne enemies. If you are using the damage mods Sky High, this is going to look really, really good with it. The Physic Czar's Ring, I don't think is a bad shout since it gives you +1 resistances to all of these ailments, right? You can push Levi to become nil to blind, curse, and stun, and then cover that weak resistance to illness and make it neutral. So I don't think this is a bad idea, but of course this is a multiplayer ring, so requires a very extensive end game grind to get. This is the accessory I wanted to give a shout out to, Eternal Tree, right? This is going to synchronize super well, and I think we're going to use it for this build. Gives you some okay STR and INT, but the effect, Earth attack damage +5%. And when Earth attacking, chance to recover 1% of damage as HP. Now we know Levi has a very nice fat damage cap. Even when you're not getting like the backstab cap or the snap blades cap, you're still dealing really, really good damage. Tweacz talks about it in his pre-build showcase. A 30,000 damage hit then gives you 300 heal. If it gets this chance, I think it's a 20% chance to get that recovery, which is quite a lot. So stack this on top of Sharp Eyes, or I'm sorry, on top of Proud Force, or use this instead of Proud Force. Either way, you're gonna be sustaining HP with Levi like a monster. This comes from the Ark. This is the AER from St. Marius, I think it's called, Ancient Runes of St. Marius. So very big come up if you have that. That also has the skill weak point boost. So just a great arc for teachable skills, and the AER for Levi in particular. So we're definitely going to use that. And then I think we're also just going to slap on damage cap to the man. I could run the Stone Statue of Bird just so I didn't have to worry about fainting, but I'm not going to, just because it is so collab specific. I'm going to run Hail Sovereign's Ring just for some extra damage cap, because it represents a very nice General Deeps build that we're going to take a look at. So we've got our Lazy Man's weapon set up. Don't got to worry about any earth resistant enemies. Eternal Tree is going to work very nice for some more HP sustain, and Hail Sovereign's Ring for extra damage cap and special damage cap, which we will take advantage of hopefully. And that does it for our base build with Levi. Done enough talking. Oh, I've got a lot to edit, boys. So we're gonna go ahead, go over to the stage, Encroaching Dead, and I'll give you some Ark recommendations. 6-9 hard mode, Encroaching Dead. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're running in terms of arcs and other recommendations. I feel like running the Resistors of Titans. Here's the thing, I don't actually know if there are any enemies that are weak to Earth in this stage. So the first part of the trait, when hitting an attribute weakness with a physical attack damage +20%, I don't know if that will be active at all ever during this particular stage without other means of lowering enemy Earth attribute resistance. But I want to use it for the other effects we get as well. When the skill Scout Regiment is set, strength +10% and movement speed up. I like that. Physical damage cap to bosses +2000. This is going to help us deal just a little extra damage to the final wave boss when we get there. So I like it a lot. Nice HP, nice strength stats, some decent MND, even at 138 to add there, 302 defense. I like it a lot. We're going to use it just for the theme, right? For the thematics of the Levi showcase. What are some other options though? If I can click correctly. Any of the other standard PDPS arcs that I've talked about. Actually, let's start from the ground up. Not really any, there's not really any like early game arcs I'd recommend, or I should say R or SRs. Movement Murder, I know Tweacz, Crypt, and I talked about that on the podcast. Physical damage against blinded enemies +50%. Probability of immediately defeating a fainted enemy. Physical attacks have a low probability of immediately breaking bosses. I know we kind of wanted to test that and see how Levi would fare with his super ridiculous hit counts. But, you know, that's more of a niche thing. I wouldn't recommend that in a general sense. Heaven's Bow Starlord is an interesting choice here if you're going to be running the bow, right, that I talked about. This is the AER Star Road, giving that extra crit rate, synchronizing with Levi being of the earth element. If you have that equipped, then I recommend this arc, because when the bow is equipped, you get an extra 10% crit rate, and damage against weaknesses plus 25%, grants extra attack for each critical. So at that point, we're talking about a weak/crit build for Levi. I want to be dealing a bunch of criticals with Levi, and then in effect getting that extra damage. And what this game means by extra damage is that it's a separate damage ticker that's a fraction of the percentage of damage of the critical. So if your critical is 30,000 in damage, this gives you a 25 to 28% extra attack of the neutral type element. So it's not resisted by any resistances. That would come out to about 6,000 to 7,000 extra damage ticker off of every crit. So if your crits are doing 30,000, you're now doing an effective 36,000, 37,000 per critical with this arc. So I think it does work very, very well for Levi in that scenario. We are going to be using that build in the next fight that we take on. Icy Guardian, of course, going to synchronize well. As you saw, we have all the critical ups. We have fast critical. So why not? This is kind of the same effect as the Heaven's Bow Starlord strategy, but it's less emphasizing the amount of crits you're doing and more emphasizing the extra attack you're getting off of your critical damage. So this is 48 to 50% extra damage in the form of an extra attack in the form of an ice element, right? So you have to take into consideration enemy attribute resistances to ice, but for every critical, you're going to be dealing an extra attack that's double the potency of, or can effectively be double the potency of the Heaven's Bow Starlord extra attacks. The only time that scales, like I said, is when you're looking at enemy ice resistances. Stardust Live, I know Tweacz talked about in the podcast, right? This is just going to give skill stocks. That's really the only reason you want to run this arc on your PDPS, is when you want more skill stocks. And when you're doing a strategy like Pirate's Feast with Purple Orb, you give them Stardust Live and you get a whole extra set of skill stocks. This is basically Purple Orb on an arc. Or I should say, this was Purple Orb before Purple Orb existed, and they both stack together. So just a great arc to use when you are ready to use it, if that makes sense. If you don't have the Pirate's Feast set up, you're not doing wave by wave content, or you're not using Honey Elixir or WAP to charge your units up to full skill stocks immediately, this is not going to be as potent as it is when you are able to do those things. This would be a good arc to run on Levi in this sense. However, I do want to run the other arc just for thematic sake. Swordsman's Tale, right? Very standard arc to recommend to any PDPS. Killing Machines, I've talked about it before, but I'll recommend that. Game Master, right? If you've taken on the end game grind, you have 8,000 fish in your inventory, and you want to use Mimicry Fish, which you get from Tide Beast Megalodon, you can make any unit hit a potential of up to 40% extra physical attack damage. So very fun to use. I'm not there yet, but hopefully we'll get there soon. And then getting into the limited arcs that we have available to us, of course, I recommended the Resistors of Titans. Eldravana is always an easy slap on. Vaz I don't think is a terrible idea if you want the extra 40% to all of the enemy types that he's not covering, since he's a human slayer, right? And if you're not focusing on a specific enemy type to give him the slayer skill, Vaz is just good to give 40% extra white damage to any of your units or any of your physical type DPS. Only things is he doesn't take advantage of like the no attribute damage cap buff, so that's something to consider, but great stats to slap on. And then Council of 10, of course, this arc is aging very, very well. Just its skill in general, even at level 1, a one-time proc to restore SCT, gonna be fantastic. Of Of course, you had to be there during the 2.5 year Annie, but for those who have it and aren't using it, I definitely want to give it a shout. And then, of course, what's nice is honestly the very last sentence. I'm skipping over all of this first trait. Damage cap plus 2000 is just universal, right? Any dual wield units love damage cap. So this is going to work very well for the 2 reasons I just mentioned. And I think we're going to stop there in terms of recommended arcs. There's nothing too niche or crazy I'm trying to get into here. So I think that gives you plenty of options to sift through and see what you have available. And of course, always let me know what you have or what you've been using in the comments, because your boy Buddha doesn't have everything available to him in the game. Let me just re-emphasize. We have transcended to a whale status. However, it's been a long time coming where we've been pretty free to play / budget management on the account. So I'm lacking a lot of things. I just like to give and make videos on what I have through my experience and or other advice that I learn along the way. So part of that is you guys talking to me about what your recommendations are in the comments, what's been working for you. I'm always interested. So never be shy to leave anything you think I missed out on in the comments below. But without further ado, we have the Levi build, baby. Let's go ahead, take this man into battle and see how this General DPS build functions in a pretty tricky setting now. Levi doesn't have things like super armor, right? He is susceptible to being flinched. Let's see what skill we get. It looks like we got quick trigger to proc on his S1. So we just had a ton of S1s. What are we looking at? Everyone's neutral. Everyone's pretty neutral to Earth. So we're not taking advantage of any weaknesses here. But luckily, we're not being resisted by anything either. So let's go ahead and use Keep Quiet and see what happens. Very fast. Very fast. Very nice damage. And not quite capping on these enemies, of course, because they're pretty tanky. We're kind of built for an all-around scenario. But now we have, now we have some pretty thick resistances. Everyone except the 2 enemies in the back are resistant to Earth, but we have Trishula and Sword of the Lost Souls. We're not going to be using his special anytime soon. However, Trishula is going to help make these 2 first enemies. It would all matter. You got 80 resistance to Earth. It really don't matter, bro. We're going to just jump in for the kill with the S3. And those gas buffs are just going to propel Levi to his target. And it's just so intense. And watch how the damage changes. When Levi gets into that backstab position, he's hitting easy 33,000 damage caps, which is just a bit crazy. Let's go ahead and target the back enemy right here, Gramos Lord. I don't think any of these guys resist Earth type attacks, but we're about to see them all just get shredded like the Beyblade that Levi is, baby. That's a nice showing right there. That's a nice Levi right there, baby. Oh my gosh, Steam can't even handle it. I'm going to target this guy back here because as you're going to see, we're going to miss the 2 enemies up top completely. We're going to absolutely murder the first 2 that we hit, and then we're going to go in for the kill over here. We were actually able to hit the dragon up top, as you saw. And usually you don't see a lot of 5-digit damage numbers to those turtles, but remember, Levi has those piercing effects, which do give him some great damage increases. I think we'll be able to get the special. We're very close. And obviously with Levi's S3, so many hits, there's a couple different factors that go into special charging rate. The amount of hits that your unit is outputting is definitely one of them. So S3 does a good job there. Hopefully we'll be able to take advantage of Sword of the Lost Souls here. But there's really not much else to do. Levi's got his buffs. He is taking, you can see that extra 10% damage buff icon right there. Anything to note before we get into the destruction? Any earth resistances we're looking at? No. So, I mean, we didn't need our earth resistant weapons as badly as I thought we would. But it's fine, right? Because we were able to take advantage of them with those earlier enemies. So easy pickings, and let's just S3. Now here's the thing, we might get flinched out of a lot, but let's see the damage. Oh, that's nasty. It's just nasty. It's just nasty. Let's go ahead and use the special. I mean, good God in heaven. You guys have seen, this is 64 hits, by the way, guys, and it's over. Such a beautiful special, by the way. You guys have seen how tanky those bosses are. You guys have seen certain units just struggle to deal that impressive damage to those guys. But Levi with those damage mods, right? We had God Slayer on him. We had his piercing effects. Even in the nice slideshow that we just watched, pretty sure I saw some damage caps to those enemies, so those backstab hits were absolutely occurring, I think, and boosting the damage further. This build is just ridiculous, and Levi is nutty. Okay, baby, so now we're gonna take Levi into a different scenario with a different build. What I was talking about earlier, you can see the arc that we have equipped to him. We are going to see what a crit-focused extra damage build looks like on Levi, my interpretation of it, with some enablers, with some assistance from the other team, just to make Levi look that much better. Because I just want to have fun with this match and show you guys what Levi can do, especially against a boss that's weak to earth, how much damage he can output. It's quite insane. Are we going to be doing beginner-friendly strats here? No, we're not. We're using limited skills. We're going crazy. But again, as I emphasize every showcase video, I want you guys to be on the lookout for these certain skill effects that will enhance your gameplay that much more if you take advantage of them, if you're able to snag them, etc. But let's go ahead and take a look at what I have replaced on Levi, because there are a couple things, right? So I do have some more stat ups in the form of HP +2 fighting spirits, right? These are now limited skills. However, I want that extra HP. We know we have to tank some hits from this boss in particular. We definitely got to take one of them, potentially two. So I want to make sure that Levi does not die, right? Because I'm not using decoy or anything like that, and I don't want to lose the buffs that we have on him. Now, because this is a crit focused build, I need all the critical up possible. Crit up 1, 2, and 3 are equipped. Proud Force, of course. Human Slayer special boost. We don't have to worry about any other Slayers since we know that this fight is a soldier typing, so that's covered. Bow equip, very important for this crit build. As you're gonna see, we have that Star Lord or that Star Road bow equipped to him for that for that extra crit percentage. Fast Matisse for that extra heal. Fast critical, of course, 15% crit. This is all the same. I do now have Ardor on Levi. I think I did originally, but now it's definitely necessary for the strategy we're taking on. Dusk, you can see I have equipped for those extra defenses. Not only is it going to make him extra tanky to certain attacks, but it also gives more mind. This does stack. Dusk is one of those unique innate effects. It's not the buff, right? So this does stack on top of Matisse. So now Levi's getting a plus 40% to his MND, which creates... We'll just take a look at the Proud Force heals as well when we take on this fight, because it's actually nutty. Weak point boost, definitely relevant here since we know the boss is weak to earth. I did take off backstab, basically to equip bow equip, because we're not going to need the extra damage mods. Levi's going to be capping in frontal attacks, so he doesn't need extra damage to the back attacks. So we were able to replace that SC. Everything here is still innate, same damage mods here. I do have Purple Orb equipped as well, and Skill Charge 3 quick trigger. Berserker, right? So if you notice, there's no Sharp Eyes. Because we're using Dusk for those extra defenses, I want our boy Levi at max MP all the time. So Sharp Eyes is off the table. And I'm very confident that with the replacement Berserker, since the enemy's weak to earth, we have weak point boost and all of the other damage mods we have on this man. Dude is going to be just fine. He's not going to need the extra 50% damage increase. do have phone booth as well. You're like, dang, Buddha, you're really trying to trigger people using phone booth and purple orb. Yeah, pretty much. I just want this to look pretty. I want it to look beautiful. So I want Levi to start with a bunch of skill stocks, get to spamming, and then wrap up the battle with a nice little whop spam from our support units to close out the match. High speed shopkeep, of course, to close the distance even more quickly, and everything else is the same. So you can see the different skills that we did swap out and the ideology there, just all the crit, some other damage mods, some extra HP, so he's got some tankiness in order to fight this stage specifically. In terms of equips, right? Your boy, since he's got full whale status now, using both of Levi's paid equips, right? We've got the blade in order to get that earth attack damage cap and extra damage mods. Star Road, the heavenly bow, I do have it plus 40. 189 STR, 88 MND, which I like. When using Earthalite skills, we're getting that extra 10% crit rate. I didn't even give a shout out to his paid equip, his cloak. I think if you had to pick between two paid accessories, the blade is is way easier of a choice. Like versus Mikasa, her paid equip, the scarf was a real eye candy. But Levi's cloak, while it's nice, right? 500 HP, some stats to defense, chance to nullify physical damage taken, and damage from bosses minus 10%, continuous haste effect, right? Because we're going to be using such crazy SCT regen, this does not matter so much. And the damage from the bosses minus 10% is going to be nice. What I could do, and you know what I will do, you know what? We're using purple orb, we're using phone booth in the same build. So why don't I maybe try and appeal to some of you guys who are just cringing in your chair or wherever you are, standing, sitting. Deadly Choker. God, it took me a while to find that. Just for the extra 3% crit rate. Truly emphasize how much crit we want on this build. I'll go ahead and leave the paid accessory out of there, but I'm still going to use the paid weapon. And then Hail Sovereign's Ring for that extra damage cap plus 1,000, special damage cap plus 1,500. Very nice. Now that we have Deadly Choker, that's going to be some extra crit rate. I am going to give you the total amount of crit rate this build offers. With the Ark, right, we already looked at it, but when a bow's equipped, critical rate plus another 10%. We're getting that extra 25% damage for being strong against this Earth weak boss. And then we're getting that extra attack for each critical. Now, what's nice is that with this exact build, if I'm not off and everything works the way it should, which before I give you that number, I should talk about why we're bringing Shift Medine. Because while I could bring Xbet for more damage cap, I brought Shift Medine, one, because she's a permanent unit. So I just figured some brownie points bringing her over some of the more limited characters. But her second trait, Distant Seaway. All allies recover 10 seconds of SCT, so that's going to work well with the initial phone booth and skill charge. Then receive a buff of strength plus 35%. So that's just going to usurp the auto brave that our man has. Critical rate plus 20%. Because we actually did that, let me go ahead. Those buffs do not stack with your fast buffs, okay? So we need to be smart, take off fast critical, because Medine's trait is a 40-second buff that gives 20% critical, which would usurp fast critical since this only gives 15%. So now we have 2 SC. We have 2 SC. What do we do, guys? What do we do with 2 SC? I don't know. I wasn't prepared for this. We're just going to throw it on attack up too. Confirm. Keep looking at Medine. And with that explanation, right? And she gives a physical attack damage cap plus 2,000. It's 1,000 less than we would have got with XBet, but I'm not complaining because we're getting that extra crit rate. With Medine's reasoning explained, I can now give you all of the different critical ups factored in. We're getting 68% with this exact setup on Levi. Close to that 70% of all hits being criticals leads to a lot of extra damage we're going to be getting off of those criticals, especially with Levi's fat damage cap and 2 enablers, right? Medine's giving extra damage cap. Sarah's giving extra damage cap. which is going to factor into how much damage we're getting out of those extra attacks. So it's just a very nice synchronous, that's not a word, build and team setup we've got here. Sarah, of course, here to provide that extra damage cap and defensive enabling that she can provide the team. I also, of course, have WAP on Medine because just to trigger, but also just to make Levi look that much better. She's going to be our WAP battery. 84 out of 92 SC because your boy is a rebel. I think that's all we need to explain. Let's just go ahead and do what we do. So we're going to start off the battle. Levi's going to have some nice skill stocks to just get to going immediately, especially with Medine charging SCT upon battle start. So that's going to help even more. So let's go ahead and check out what we've got. 2 S3s, 3 S1s, 1 S2. So we'll go ahead and expend what we do. We'll let this guy do his first attack, and then we'll just whop Levi and finish the match off. Here we go. I'm just going to go straight into fighting. Actually, we'll go ahead and cast Blazer, right? Just to lower this guy's strength so that ult is not dealing a lot of damage. Blazer, and we are getting a lot of extra damage. A lot of extra damage off of those criticals. You can see the 8,000s. Yeah, Colossal Titan's health is very, very low right now. We are able to eat this very nicely. Medine might die on the second ultimate, which I didn't think about, making her buff enough to survive this, but it's not going to matter. Go ahead and whop into Levi. She's going to get that whenever she does. She is casting very slow. I don't like it. Let's go ahead and do High Vitality Phaser. And we have all of the skill 3s to finish this match off. We barely missed the final blow, as you can see. Levi's dead. That's not good. And Medine survived. Medine got the killing blow. That's actually hilarious. But you guys saw, the work was done by Levi. I'm not gonna lie. I think the standard just max damage cap build works a little better than that. Based on my experience, I've been running Levi a lot over the weekend as my main DPS to take down this stage with the typical him, Expet, Sarah. Very similar. I mean, it's the exact same strategy I was using with Ardeen before Levi was introduced for this stage. However, I wanted to try something new. I thought it'd be interesting to mess around with the extra attack crit focus build that Levi can offer. So I'm glad it worked out well. We still got the under 30-second clear. Didn't quite tank the boss's ult like I was hoping he would. Maybe we really did need, we needed that paid accessory. But he was able to do 99% of the work. So very, very effective damage build right there. And I think it's time to move on to the final showing of the captain. Okay, it's time for our third attempt at an arena showcase in one of these character build videos. We can see in slot 1, we've got the boy, Levi. Gonna be seeing how his burst damage fits in with this little team comp I have. Got my core defense and Ruto and Spirit Main Interior. Expets, she might steal the show with her S3, I'm not going to lie, but I'm hoping that both Levi and Expet are going to complement each other. So let me show you how I've got him set up. We can see the arena build I have. No stat ups other than crit up 2. I do have the advanced aim vitals skills, right? Aim vitals and advanced. For that 80% crit power, because crit power is just so much more potent in arena than in your PvE. Proud Force 4, some sustain if we can get those crits off. Stone Slayer, Machine Slayer, and God Slayer I do have, right? It's hefty when you start stacking your Slayers on top of your attack units in Arena. What's nice is that there is a reason why we have Stone Slayer, of course, Machine and God cover all of the meta units, right? And of course, Human Slayer makes it a breeze. Having all of those damage mods on Levi with Special Boost and Nate. Incredible kit, honestly, for Arena. Spear Equip is going to be pretty important as I discuss the equipment choice, shout out to that Zero. Gonna give the man credit for giving me some inspiration. Fast Matisse, when we do get our crit heals, I want that extra healing off of that. Fast Critical, of course, for 15% extra critical. Awaken, he comes with innate, it's going to work very well. Pose of Glory, Pose of Honor, very, very nice to have since we want kills. We want to be snagging multi-enemy kills with Levi. Backstab to synchronize with Surprise Attack, right? Damage mods go a lot farther in Arena than they do in your typical PvE. Now here's what I want to use. I have not even tested Levi in Arena, guys. This is me testing and you observing as much as me. So the reason I think piercing is so important for this man is particularly in Arena, right? I want the piercing armor piercer. I want the piercing effect in his trait. And we're going to see another layer of piercing potential when we move over to equipment. And I think that's going to just rip through a lot of enemies, especially our modern day tanks. And in order to combat those who are using a skill called Stone World, which gives your unit like an extra 20% defense and nullifies piercing effects. That's the reason we have Stone Slayer, because that skill gives that enemy the stone typing, which then can screw up this whole piercing angle that I'm trying to approach. Stone Slayer at least covers that weakness in this strategy somewhat. So that's why that's there. Let me not get ahead of myself. We've got Shockwave 1 along with Shockwave 2 for that double guard break potential. Then we've got Sword High Boost. I don't have Sword Boost because I needed that 4SC for some other skill setups as you're seeing. Purple Orb, very important skill charge 3. Quick Trip is going to be very nice. Decoy, of course, in case we have to come back to life. Sharp Eyes, yes, going to be very important here for that 50% damage mod. When we're able to charge up some MP, we can get that extra damage from Sharp Eyes. Combo Master 2 might be helpful here, but high combos aren't quite as common in Arena. High Speed Shopkeep for that quick dash to the enemies, and that covers the SC build that we're working with. Looking at the equips, we can see we got Pure Blade Muramasa, right? Best damage mod on a sword in the game and great strength stat. So very essential, I think, for Levi in Arena. Divine Beast Purga Spear. This is what I want to give credit where it's due, not my own doing, right? Got some inspiration when physically attacking, chance to have the enemy defense. That's another piercing layer. And or attribute resistances. So we can not only cut through defenses, but we have the chance to cut through attribute resistances, anyone who's resistant to earth as well. This in desert effect doesn't matter at all. If we have this at plus 40, this would just be then strength plus 15%, no desert requirement, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. And a real nice fat STR stat. You can get this same effect with the AER, right? This is the God-forged weapon, but you can get the piercing and attribute cutting effect with the King's Fiend Horn as well. Mithril Relief for extra skill damage and extra movement speed since we have a sword equip. And then Physics Czar's Ring, right, to cover, right? It makes us nil to blind, curse, stun, and then also makes us neutral to illness, so we're not inherently weak to that in case we run into any tricky status ailment teams. Looking at the Ark I have equipped with him, just wanted to test this out because I do think it works well, right? Physical damage plus 20% immediately. When all status ailments on the unit are healed, restore 10 seconds of SCT, increase movement speed, physical damage plus 20%. That's super conditional and not always going to be the case. But it's mainly the last part. Chance to not flinch at magic attacks and damage from the magic minus 30%. I think this is actually pretty relevant in the current Arena climate. Since we don't ourselves have a caster with this Arena team, we are very susceptible to CC mages and or mages who want to try and deal substantial magic damage to the team. Since Levi doesn't have much flinch resistance in that sense, right? Other than Spirit Maid Interior's barrier when she casts AoE heals, I'm hoping that this last part gives us a little bit of protection against any blizzards or Grand Crosses, whatever mage skill is going off. Hopefully, Unchained Beast is going to help Levi not get flinched and be able to get his full attacks off successfully. With that being said, guys, Let's go ahead and jump in. I always get nervous because arena showcases can get a little dicey. Since we're not doing a magic DPS build with Maja, I don't really have to worry about the formation of the teams we're taking on. Besides sword render, it's kind of flipped. Spell render teams are a bit more manageable. This makes me nervous, right? Because we're dealing with 3 burst attackers. However, since we are a person and we're fighting AI, it just makes it a little more manageable. I'm going to go for Xbet because she is... Wow, we have all 3 stocks of our S3. That's actually crazy. I have auto on, which is a problem. I'm going to turn that off real quick. We're going to go straight in to Xbet with the S3. Is everything dead? I think everything's dead. Okay. Let's go ahead and go for that Levi. Oh, he's dead. Let's do this again. Oh. 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 Oh, Levi's like that. Levi's like that. Levi's like that in arena? Why haven't I been using him? Holy God. Holy God. Well, that was test 1. I like to do about 3 arena battles. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. This is a good little test. He's running a magician setup, so not sure what the angle is here, but we've got a Ruto and a Gorm to take down, right? The main purpose of Levi and all those piercing efforts is to basically get through tanks a lot easier than other physical damage attackers can. So we'll see how this is set up. I don't know this player and if their team is typically built very well, but we're about to find out. Mikasa, you need to get out of the way if you want to live. We're going after Gorm because Gorm is by far the more annoying tank in my opinion. Let's go with some S3, shall we? That amount of damage to Gorm is blowing my mind right now. Who can we kill? Ooh! Levi got 1 shot. Levi got 1 shot. Got it. Heard. I'm not gonna mess with you anymore. What's going on? Luckily we have decoy, right? But I think we did lose. We did lose his gas buffs, right? When Levi dies, he then loses his gas buffs. So all that movement, all that utility, that's gone, unfortunately. Who are we targeting right now? I'm just going to go ahead and hit an S2, and hopefully we get to whoever we're going for. Someone died. Someone definitely died, and here's the issue. Now we have no S3s. Gorm is back to Live Vagabond. I know you're pretty good at Arena Vagabond. We have no S3s. We have no gas buffs. Spells are going off, and we're in a bit of a pickle. But I'm going to go after Gorm. We're going to go for some S1s since we have a ton of skill stock here. Hopefully, Xbet can save us with some S3s right now. We really need the help. I see her flipping, which is a good sign. Yeah. 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 Oh my God, but dude's Mikasa is a ripper, bro. Dude's Mikasa is a ripper. That's wild. But Gorm is dead. The fact that Levi is shredding through Gorm that quickly is actually insane to me. But we've got some problems. Everyone's dead. Everyone's dead right now. Everyone's dying. So we are losing. We are in fact losing, y'all. We are in fact losing. Whew. It's pretty tight. It's a pretty tough match right now. It's a pretty tough match right now. I really need homeboy. We've got both Levi and Mikasa down for the count, which is better. It's better than nothing. I need Levi to come back. What do we got? I need this. I need help. Blizzard makes me very uncomfortable. Levi's our only chance at cutting through these tanks, but with the Blizzard spam, it's really, really, really intimidating. Okay. Okay, what's going on here? Let's see Levi, I need you to get to these guys like yesterday. That Levi coming to me is freaking terrifying, bro. Oh, but everything's dead. Oh, but everything's dead. Mikasa, what are you doing, girl? Get out of here, girl. Get away from my boy. The fact that we're doing like no crits right there is kind of worrisome, but my God, is Levi potent. Final arena match. I'm stunned. Spell render, Roy, Gen, Tyria. Let's see what we got. Roy is obviously still the king of arena. The bane to Levi, since we're talking about earth versus fire. This is a really bad positioning since Roy's on one end of the map. We're on the other. So if Roy gets an S3 off, it's basically GG's. But we're going to target Gen. And see if we can get there in time, right? Okay, so Roy definitely, Levi made it there in time. Everything is dying, bro. Everything is dying in front of Roy. I'm sorry, Levi. Oh, good God. Screw Kyle over there. I mean, Kyle's barrier didn't even matter. Just ripping. Oh, that's death. We're going to die. I love that that's just death, bro. I love that that's just literal death. If Roy... See, now we're in a real pickle right here. We are in a pickle, everyone. Okay, everything's... Okay. A lot of people are dead. You're dead. You're gonna die. You are all dead. Wow. What is up with the double revive? What's that nonsense? What skill is that? But as long as we get in the enemy face, it doesn't matter. Ooh, but we got the... Oh my gosh, this is actually pretty... This is a nail biter right here, everyone. This is a nail biter right here. Oh God, and we can't use Cure All on Lilibet. Oy. This is really unfortunate. This is a really close match, y'all. Oh my God. No way we're gonna lose. Okay, we got it. Lilibet saved the day, but still, I know you guys saw what I saw. With Levi, if he's in your face, you're dead. Which is extremely impressive in arena. Okay, I'm a fan. Levi, you are staying in my offense, bro. Thank you so much for coming down. And yeah, it's definitely gonna do it for the showcase right there. Okay, YouTube. That's gonna do it for our short king on the screen, Levi. Love how all of these Attack on Titan units are for some reason positioned so far down from the top of the screen, but you know, little spaghetti code, what can you do? The artwork still looks incredible. Our boy Levi is incredible. And I can definitely say I'm excited to keep using him in whatever challenges present themselves. As an endgame player, very excited to just continue using him in arena. Like it a lot. Might try to use him to climb to Super Gold 1 before this season ends in 7 days. So yeah, probably gonna get to that after this video. And feeling better about making a little arena guide. Starting to learn some things, so I feel like I can pass that knowledge on to you guys. Maybe we'll sit down, start writing a script for that. I know a lot of people are anticipating it, but I'm getting way off track. We're looking at the king of Attack on Titan for sure. Not even close in my opinion. If we're talking strictly meta, Levi is the part 2 god. So congratulations to anyone who pulled him. if you're a new player and you're starting out with like Levi and Aaron and Mikasa, right? The argument can still stand. I think that Aaron's going to provide you a quicker return on harder challenges to take down because he's given to you at level 100, 5 enhanced. But I mean, if you're talking about which character should I build, Levi's going to be your better endgame character overall, hands down. So the choice is up to you. You now have your boy Buddha's showcase at your disposal. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a thing or two. Of course, always looking forward to the comments, talking with you guys down there, seeing what you think. That's all I got for you this time, guys. Like, subscribe, bell notifications. Turn on all notifications. Y'all know the drill. And I know what we say, work hard, play hard. See you in the next video.